Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Four and Fuel podcast, episode 3 of the second season. We're back to talk about the Daytona Road Course, some news that's come out this week, and as always, we're going to finish off with our picks for the next weekend's race, and that being Homestead. And to throw in there, we've got some more splash and go segment questions, so can't wait for a fun-filled, packed episode. As always, we got Steve back again and looking a little different this week, Steve.
Yeah, I cut about 10 years off my age. So just decided it was with the warmer weather coming, finally got up above freezing. It's time to give a fresh trim, let it grow out for the summertime. And now I'm regretting that decision because now I'm completely baby-faced again. So I'm apologize to everyone that's looking at this. There's a 4-year-old on the podcast now.
Well, I mean, I also decided to shave this week. It was just getting a little too much for me, but warmer weather as well. I mean, I don't think you're getting the 50s yet. I mean, we got 50s today, so I'm done with the snow. The snow if the snow could take, we'll just ignore what he said. If we can get the snow to just stop for the rest of the winter, I'll be fine with that. We've had enough, made up for the past 3 years of no snow. Another place where it snows is sometimes Virginia. How is it over there? Right now, Wes.
Well, I think we got past a little bit of the snow phase. Right now, we're looking in the clear, but of course, the winter, I feel like we're going to get a little bit of snow coming in March because I feel like there always snows in March here in Virginia. So I don't think it's over yet, but hopefully it is. Hopefully we get a little break and get to enjoy some warmer weather coming up this spring and summer.
That's, what we need to see. We need to see the spring. We need to be getting back outside, primarily. I need to get out of the house more because, this cold weather just isn't helping that fact. I want to get back out running and all that stuff, get back into shape just like I did last summer. And, that's definitely going to come with warmer weather. And then we've got Sam, who is bragging about his 70-degree weather down there in Alabama. We get it, over there at Troy. How's the college life treating you right now, on February 25th?
Pretty well. It got up to the 70s today. It's supposed to get up to like the 80s this weekend, which sucks because I have a national this weekend. So,
oh yeah, you're really suffering.
Yeah, well, okay. I'd rather it be cold while I'm racing, but besides that, I kept it scruffy. I didn't shave. This is multiple months of work, so I couldn't just tear it all down like that. Yeah, I'm feeling good right now.
Yeah, you're like the Gillette Young Gun, one of those guys where they need their Gillette razors because they can't grow anything, and when they do, they just don't want to cut yourself, and then it takes forever to grow back. But anyway, speaking of young guns, Corey LaJoie, I mean, maybe not really a young gun. He's gonna have a new crew chief for this week. Familiar face in the NASCAR world. Steve Letarte is going to make his crew chiefing return this weekend at Homestead. Right now, just for Homestead. We don't know anything else moving forward. But to see Steve Letarte back on the box, I think that'd be pretty cool. He, worked with Jeff Gordon for about 5-6 years, and then he worked with Dale Jr. throughout, towards till the end of Letarte's career until he went to NBC. Really good crew chief. He's got a lot of wins, so he obviously knows what he's doing. Now, is he going to lead Corey LaJoie and Spire to a win? I don't think so, but he'll definitely do some good work. I think Steve Letarte it's pretty cool that he's willing to step in for a week and kind of run things during the race. I don't know how much he's going to be able to do, behind the scenes, in the shop. I think that's the car's already kind of been set up. So I think Steve is just there to make the calls and kind of head the team for the week, which I think is pretty cool to see a name like Steve Letarte back in the garage.
It'd be cool to see Jeff Gordon during the race get a chance to interview Steve Letarte with the history that they had. Mm-hmm. It'd be cool if they had an opportunity for Gordon to interview him.
And you talk about Jeff Gordon. I know we're going to get off topic for a little bit, but the energy Jeff Gordon has this year in the booth is insane.
Way better.
It seems more he's getting excited into it and kind of not just being that analyst role where he's just trying to be very technical and serious with everything. He's got that energy also now. And I think, a lot of that has to do with the addition of Clint Boyer. I think this trio they've got honestly could rival the trio that Fox had at the beginning 20 years ago when they had Larry Mack and DW up there with Mike Joy. Obviously, you got an older Mike Joy now. And I mean, I think he's loving it too. The two-man booth kind of worked, but I think now you've got that excitement factor that Fox really needed because NBC seemed to be kind of running away with the better programming, I'd say, and just coverage. But now I think Fox has got something. They've changed the ticker to make it a little more colorful again, and they've got a better trio in the booth. And I think that's what Fox needed. And getting off the Fox soapbox, I think, we got Chris Windham. He's going to be racing at the Bristol Dirt Race for Wickware Racing, and he's got NOS as a sponsorship. I think that's big. Maybe we'll have a Rick Ware car maybe be competitive, semi-competitive in a race. I don't know, Wes.
It might break the top 30.
I think, Wes, you said you knew a little bit about Chris Windham.
Well, he's coming in with a lot of experience, and I think that him coming into the Cup Series is definitely going to be a good momentum push, I think, for Rickware Racing. Bringing in the sponsorship of NOS. NOS is a huge sponsor. They've been a part of NASCAR for a long time now. So I feel like in combination with that and Rickware wanting to become a factor in the sport, I think that this is a good step, especially taking a guy really experienced on the dirt, a Triple Crown winner in the USAC world, and a former guy that's raced in the Truck Series, has done pretty well. He raced with Stuart Friesen's team and a couple other different teams and performed very well for kind of being touted on short notice. So I think that it's going to be interesting to see. I think that him getting this possibility is going to open the door for maybe other drivers to make their Cup Series debut when it comes to this dirt race. I think that he's going to be he is the first, but I think that we're going to see some other faces maybe be entered into this dirt race along with like Rick Ware Racing, maybe partnering with sponsorship, some other drivers coming up, because there was a report by NASCAR report on Instagram mentioning Stuart Friesen, even Norm Benning possibly having entries. And I think that we could see a lot more in the future, but definitely a good opportunity for Chris Windham, a very seasoned guy, finally got the Triple Crown at the end of 2020. And now he's going to get a Cup Series debut.
Yeah, we're going to have I think we'll have a few more maybe enter. You get those, road course ringers. Now you get those, dirt slingers getting into the field. So I think it'd be pretty cool to see what those guys could do. Definitely help some more underfunded teams by getting the drivers, because I think that's almost an equalizer race. Almost we've seen like trucks at Eldora, like a Bobby Pierce, obviously not the highest equipment, but he was almost close to winning a few times at Eldora. So I think these teams like a Rick Ware Racing, they know this is their chance to maybe do something, to get their cars toward the front. So you get a good driver like Windham, and then you open up some opportunities. And then that weekend, they're going to have 4 heat races, I believe, of 15 laps each. Sam, do you think that's a good way to do it? Or do you think that's not enough, too much? They're getting an hour of practice. What do you think of the format?
I think it's actually a pretty good format. 15 laps, because you don't want to overrun them, but that'll give them time to feel out in race situations what it's going to be like. I assume that there's going to be a decent amount of wrecks, even though it's only 15 laps. I can see a lot of people spinning that, haven't spent much time on dirt, and a 1-hour practice session isn't going to teach you everything you need to know. So I think 15 laps is a good, I may extend it maybe like 20, 25 if I was doing it, but 15 is not a terrible number just to get them in there and get them qualified. And another thing about qualifying is we might see, because it's a wild card race, like it's a dirt race, we might see like how we had for the Daytona 500, how there was a bunch of people that showed up. We could see a lot of people show up, like dirt only drivers that'll show up and try and make their way into the field. So we could have another big qualifying uh, push from smaller teams.
Yeah, we could have those, which would be pretty cool to see some of these races mean something. And then maybe, I mean, I doubt they'll have a last chance qualifier, but if they do, that'd be pretty cool to see. So moving on from Bristol Dirt, we'll talk more about that as the news comes along and we get closer to that event. We want to talk about our Wes and Steve's guy, Jeb Burton, in the Xfinity Series. They announced a new sponsor today, Cheddar's. One thing I can say, Cheddar's, I've been there once in the Charlotte area when I went to the Coke 600 back in 2018. They had some pretty good food. I'd say it's like almost like a higher class Applebee's, if you want to make a comparison. I think it was pretty good. I'd go back if there was any near me, but there are none in the New Jersey area. So I can't go back anytime soon, just like I can't go back to Cookout. And, you know, Sam is wearing the Bobby Labonte Cookout wheel modified shirt for this season. So, Steve, what do you think about the new sponsor for Jeb Burton? And is he going to win a race in that car?
Oh, I think he'll win both races in that car.
And where were those races at?
Let's see, this weekend at Homestead, and then the summer race at Daytona. So hopefully there's opportunities for more sponsorship, but
I think you got to shoe in Riley Herbst for Daytona in July.
Let's not get crazy. Let's not get crazy now. He'll probably just hook it through the grass like he did this weekend. And
nowhere to go. It's either that or, run into the car, and he was trying to save a life. So
one thing I'll add too with Jeb Burton and Colleague Racing, I've been really impressed with Colleagues Racing's effort to just push and get this sponsorship and push themselves over these past few years to make such an effort to stand out in the Xfinity Series, now in the Cup Series, with Allmendinger having a really solid debut at the road course, which we'll talk about. But Colleagues definitely starting to pick their game up, especially this year. They were last year very, very strong, and even the year before, but this year they've really kicked off the year on a very, very high note, and I think we can expect a lot from them this year and also in the future years to come.
I agree. I think from when you look at them when they started as just a one car operation with Blake Cook as the driver, to now going to 3 full-time cars in just a matter of years. I mean, that just shows the effort that Matt Colleague and Chris Rice put into that race team. And, they have the right group of people around them, and the results show for it. So they're doing things right over there, and it's exciting to watch. And they have 3 very talented drivers and 3 drivers that are capable of winning each and every week.
Definitely. And, I'd like to say we are going to transfer to some talented series of drivers, but we're going to go into the truck series. And I'm not even going to hold back, but the truck series is an embarrassment this year, and it's almost disgusting to watch. The first 2 weeks have been an awful showing of what that series has to offer. There are too many people out there that have no clue what they're doing. They have no experience. They have no business being in the truck series. Too many wrecks. I mean, that Daytona Road Course race, I saw the second half of the race, and it was nothing but cautions. It was nothing but stupid wrecks. People driving over their heads for 30th. It's unbelievable. There was a restart. I think it was one of the green-white checkers. Yes, one of the green-white checkers. Not one green-white checkered. There were multiple green-white checkers.
They went full 3, didn't they?
I mean, there's unlimited. I think they did go 3, but it wasn't like it could have stopped. They could have kept going all night. I'm surprised they're still not racing. It's embarrassing. I think it's an embarrassment. I don't know if you think that's entertainment, then you're watching for the wrong reasons, because there was literally one restart where they came off of the final chicane coming to the green flag. They are still under caution, and somebody was spun out before they took the green flag. I still don't know who that is because they didn't bring any attention to it, but I saw a car spun out. in the back before they took the green flag.
I understand where you're coming from, but I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate because, like, I agree. It's like it's really embarrassing. But the last two races, it's really hard to be a really good super speedway driver or just to be good in general because you have to know what you're doing, and they don't know what they're doing. They don't have the experience, and it's hard to drive road courses because you have to turn left and right, and you're not used to that if you're coming from, like street stocks and stuff like that, like your smaller stuff. So I think it'll be a good test this weekend because we're on an oval. It's not like a super simple one, but like it's going to be simpler than Daytona, both these last two Daytona races. So we'll really see if it's another wreck fest, then yeah, I'll hop on the bandwagon and be like, yeah, that they just don't have any talent. But we got to hold off on the whole they have no talent because they could have talent, they just not experienced, and they may have gotten experience at the road course and at the super speedway that they can transfer over into the next time that they go to those places.
Well, our own Wes Riddle's favorite driver got a top 20. Dawson Cram finished in the top 20. So if that doesn't say enough of what the Truck Series has to offer, then I don't know what else does, because Dawson Cram literally turned right on a straightaway with a truck next to him at Phoenix last year with 2 to go. So I don't know. And then the Haley Deegan hype, I've never thought she would be too good. I don't think she's going to be too good. I don't know why they said she got robbed of a top 10, even though she was running in the mid-20s all race. And then they're going to blame a flat tire for why she didn't get a top 10. Maybe she's just not that good. Granted, yeah, we're going to a mile and a half this week, so we'll see what these drivers really got. But I don't know. I think Ben Rhodes has taken the challenge, and he's taken a step ahead. I think he should be in the Xfinity Series already. I don't know why he isn't. But other than that, the Truck Series is frustrating for me.
Wes, I think we were talking before the episode, and that race was scheduled to be like 44 laps. They ended up doing like 51. It was almost like half the race ran under caution.
Yeah, I was checking out Racing Reference because they break it down pretty well with statistics, and it said that 39.2% of the race was ran under caution, which shouldn't be a thing. I mean, I understand that this is the second race of the season. A lot of these guys are new to the sport and also new to the Truck Series, but it just, I don't know. It just seemed like there was not really the racing that we should expect from these drivers, especially that are trying to make a name for themselves. But I think Sam mentioned it pretty well. I think that Homestead, that we're going to have this, well, I guess they're not racing at Homestead, but when they head to Vegas, I think in a couple weeks, I think that's their next race. I think that that's going to be a good standing for what we're going to see the rest of the season for the trucks, especially when it comes to these like mile and a half tracks. Some of the tracks where it's not really super speedway. It's a little bit more predictable for what I think we could see out of these drivers on similar tracks in the future.
Now, I'm not sure why the trucks aren't going to Homestead this week. It doesn't make any sense, but that's just kind of how the Truck Series has always been, I guess. Yeah, they go to Las Vegas on March 5th. So yeah, the week after, when everyone goes out west. And I'm looking, and they don't even go to Homestead once. Like, why? Why are they not going to Homestead? I don't get that. That doesn't make too much sense to me, but it is what it is. The Truck Series, frustrating. Ben Rhodes has got 2 wins, and that's really all you could say about the Truck Series. We'll move into the Xfinity Series. What a drive by Ty Gibbs. I think people expected him to be good off the bat, but not winning off the bat. I don't think anybody could have really predicted Ty Gibbs to win that race, because if you looked at the names in that race, like Cindric and Allmendinger, everyone thought it was going to come down to them. And it might have, had that incident coming to the end of the stage had not happened. I think that's a bit aggressive by Allmendinger.
He Logano'd it. Let's be honest. He Logano'd it coming back to the line for a stage. Like, I mean, you got to have more awareness in the car than that.
And granted, the grass doesn't help, but I mean, how long can we complain about the grass? I mean, it's not going to be changed anytime soon. It doesn't look like. So just got to stay out of the grass as at all costs. That's all you really can say. Unfortunately, that wreck taking out Riley Herbst, his terrible luck continues, in that Monster Energy Ford. But his buddy Ty Gibbs does get the win. Big for Joe Gibbs. I haven't seen Joe Gibbs get that emotional since the 2019 Daytona 500. So that was really cool for Joe Gibbs, to have his grandson win in his first start. And I think Ty Gibbs, honestly, I tweeted it out right after the race. I think Ty Gibbs is a future Cup champion. He obviously, his name helps him get his ride, but I think he's making something with it. He's not just out there, wasting a ride. He's not doing that. And to go right from ARCA to an Xfinity ride without even doing a truck start, that even makes it more impressive. And at Daytona of all places, I think Ty Gibbs got a bright future.
Well, I think it helps too. He's not, obviously he's going to be in a Gibbs car, but he's not going to ride around in 20th in a Gibbs car. Like, he went out and proved that he can win. And that's what's going to make him a Cup champion one day, is that he can go out and literally in his first Xfinity race go and win the race and beat one of the best road course racers that we have with Austin Cindric.
And on top of that, he beat the defending or who is looking to defend his championship, Austin Cindric too. Cindric's fresh off the championship, and they were caught up in that incident, but definitely an impressive win from Ty Gibbs. Overall, a really good weekend for Joe Gibbs. They all finished top 10 in the Xfinity race with Hemrick, Burton, and the other was Brandon Jones. Jones had to recover too after a really bad incident on pit road that just kind of cost him, but he was able to rebound nicely. So, and Toyota overall with Ben Rhodes winning, and then also Christopher Bell, which we'll get to in a second. And also a really good weekend pretty much for Miguel Paludo. Miguel Paludo returned. It was his first race back in a few years. I don't think he's raced since the Truck Series back. I don't know how many years it's been now, maybe 4 or 5 years. And he was able to pull off a top 10 after, I think he had a flat tire at some point during the race.
Yeah.
And was still able to recover and bounce back and just show what he's capable of too. So hopefully that's a good sign for him. And hopefully he gets some more opportunities for junior motorsports the rest of this year.
Yeah, and those Virginia boys getting top 10s too. Jeb in 5th, Brandon Brown in 8th. And, we saw West change his, I think, cover photo for the first time since he's gotten on Twitter at all that NASCAR. Got 3 Virginia boys as the cover photo for Wes. Go check out his Twitter cover photo and give him a follow while you're at it. Wes gives those race updates and his takes live during the race. I always love looking at Wes's feed during the race and seeing what he thinks. Now,
have to bring a little bit more this weekend.
Yeah, get our first mile and a half this week, so can't wait to see what you got to say about the racing. And now we go to the Cup Series. Quite a interesting day at the Daytona Road Course for the Cup Series. It all started on lap 1. Michael McDowell goes into turn 1, just doesn't have a tire up and goes way wide. Denny Hamlin almost plows into the back of him. And then you get through 1, and then Kyle Busch is in the grass. He says the car is killed. And just, Kyle Busch thought his day was done. Obviously did not happen. He made a charge back up to the front. It looked like he honestly had a top 3 car toward the middle of that race. And then I don't know what was going on with Brad Keselowski. I mean, I don't know if he was concussed from last week, just still devastated about last week, still thinking about last week, but it seemed like he couldn't hit a corner to save his life.
Every time that he went into a braking zone, that right front was just screaming. Like, I don't know how he kept the right front tire on more than a lap, because he was just locking it up every single chance he got.
He and Kurt Busch, I feel like, could have had their own highlight reels, like an
Yes.
hour long each, just on the whole race. And they both finished in the top like 6, top 10.
5. Both were top 5. Kurt was 4th and
Top
Brad was
5.
5th.
That is unbelievable. You would have thought they would have finished 25th and 30th.
Yeah, and in the middle there, Kurt actually spun Brad too. So they really could have had their own highlight reel.
They just came together. I mean, it's unbelievable. Kurt Busch spun from the lead. Kurt Busch spun other
Flying
times.
through the grass.
Spun Brad Keselowski. Keselowski missed about 30 corners that race. I mean, it just shows what you can do with these road courses, and he somehow came back. And then you think the guy who has it won with 12 to go, then apparently it's raining and the track is wet, but it's a road course. So you would think, oh, let the teams decide whether they want to come in for rain tires or not. No, let's throw a caution for rain, even though we can race in the rain. I don't agree with the caution. Other drivers said it was wet. Chase Elliott obviously didn't agree with the caution. Why have the strategy of rain tires or not if you're just going to throw a caution for a little, rain? It wasn't like it was downpouring. It's just, I don't know. I don't typically feel bad for Chase Elliott, but in that circumstance, I will say he kind of got gypped. And then after that, all hell broke loose with 10 cars deciding to stay out. And then Bell's crew and Truex's crew, I believe, got them out ahead of Chase Elliott under the pit stops. And then, like Chase Elliott said, I think he said it's like a lottery of getting through the field. Like, it's either you're in the right lane or you're not. Chase Elliott was not, got forced into the grass by Corey LaJoie. I think Denny Hamlin got in the grass a little bit, not as much as Chase. Chase did a heck of a job hanging on to it. But by then, the damage was done. And then by the time Chase Elliott tried to recover, he had his buddy Brad Keselowski, who couldn't hit a corner, decided to make sure he wasn't going to miss the corner by parking it in front of Chase Elliott coming onto the high banks. And that created a stack up, which got Denny Hamlin into the back of Chase Elliott and sent Chase Elliott around. So Chase Elliott had a rough day.
A lot of people on Twitter too were like going after Denny Hamlin. Like, I don't know what you want Denny Hamlin to do in that situation, because he had Chase Briscoe right behind him. So if Denny Hamlin checked up at all, he was going to go around because he was going to get ran over by Chase Briscoe. So I don't get what people were saying that, oh, it was Denny Hamlin's fault when it was Brad who just decided to stomp on the brakes in the middle of the corner.
It was a good old-fashioned traffic stop.
Now, I thought Kyle Larson had that. I thought Kyle Larson was going to win the race. I thought once he got to third and he was going to make the move, I think it was on, was it Kurt Busch? Kurt Busch.
Kurt Busch, yeah.
And
it was a roadblock.
I thought Larson was going to complete that pass, and it was going to be easy work of Logano, because Logano was only about a second ahead, I think, at that point. But then he wheel hops. It kind of reminded me of Jeff Gordon at Watkins Glen in 2007. Sad moment as a Gordon fan. I will say I think I teared up a little bit after that one. I was disappointed, but yeah. So I thought Larson had it. That didn't work out, and then Kurt Busch was the biggest roadblock. Christopher Bell was the nicest driver ever to Kurt Busch, because there were multiple times where he could have hit him out of the way, slammed him, spun him, and didn't lay a bumper on him really, and still got by him. And then it looked, he was 4.5 seconds, 5 seconds back of Logano by the time he passed him with 4.5 to go or something like that. And then he just ran down Logano. I mean, Christopher Bell put down some impressive laps. And for Christopher Bell, who years ago when he came into the Xfinity Series admitted that he was not good at the road courses. That was one thing he really wanted to work on. And to come all this way to get his first win in the Cup Series at the Daytona Road Course, that's quite impressive. And I think Bell, as much as we hate it, for Eric Jones, Bell might have just been the right decision. It's unfortunate the circumstances for Jones, but Bell may just be a little better of a driver.
Well, the right decision was getting rid of Chris Gale as a crew chief. If you gave Eric Jones Adam Stevens, Eric Jones would still be in the 20 and winning races. But you have that bum Chris Gale.
But Chris Gale did win with Ty
He
Gibbs.
did win this
Well,
weekend. I was about
that
to
was a-
say.
That was a Ty Gibbs talent over Chris Gale, crew chief
So
deal.
Ty Gibbs is better than Eric Jones. This is what you're saying? Better driving
Mm,
talent.
I would say that Eric Jones has worse luck than Ty Gibbs.
Yeah.
We
by
can't.
far.
Luck is not
There's
an official
there's
Eric
NASCAR
bad
Jones-
stat.
luck. There's bad luck, and then there's Eric Jones luck.
Yeah. You know,
And Riley Herbst luck.
now
Same thing.
also our sources do say that Wes's favorite Cup driver is Ryan Preece, and what a start to the season for Ryan Preece. Wes, 2 top 10s, doubling his total top 10s from last year. What can you say about that?
I'll say it's a really impressive start because I wouldn't have ever thought that with the way that things were shaping out that this was going to be the year for JTG. And right now, at least for Ryan Preece's sake, things are looking really good for the rest of the season. I don't know if they can keep putting together performances like this. I think we can see them have a full-time season. I think right now they're limited to maybe about 20, maybe a few more starts. But I think if they can continue this momentum, it's definitely looking hopeful for them as a team because it looked like things were definitely going downhill before the season was underway. So really good for their whole department, their whole team and organization. I think that that's definitely going to help them. I think it's also going to help Michael McDowell. I think McDowell now, the first time I think in his career he's ever had back-to-back top 10s, and now he's going to a track that he scored his first ever top 10 on that wasn't a super speedway. Homestead, Miami, that was back in like 2014 for another funded team. I think that we're going to see a lot out of him too. I think that that's definitely a good momentum boost for front row. So a lot of these smaller guys like the Ryan Preeces, the Michael McDowells, even like we saw with Colleague and AJ Allmendinger getting a top 10, definitely really good and hopeful starts to what could be a promising season and maybe the best season that they've ever had in their NASCAR careers.
Definitely. I think they've got some bright futures. We'll see what they got at the mile and a half, obviously, at Homestead. I think that'll be a real test of if they've picked it up at all or not. But you got to definitely think momentum is on their side, so that could play a role. And I think one driver that really no one really talked about this weekend, and I give kudos to Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick got a 6th, a nice quiet day, didn't get off the track at all. And that's a good run for Harvick at the Daytona Road Course after what happened last year. And then in the Clash, I think Harvick definitely put some work in to getting better at this track. I think they know as the team that they've got to be good at the road courses with there being so many this year. And I think that was a big step in the right direction for the 4 team. And now, Sam, this may be something people haven't looked at or the fans don't want to look at. They want to ignore this, but Matt DiBenedetto right now sits behind Quinn Houff in the points. What's the level of, danger for Matt DiBenedetto right now, who's looking for a ride next year? He will not be in that 21 car.
I don't think there's a considerable amount of danger. Everyone's seen his body of work the last few years, coming from the 95 to the 21 last year, getting them in the playoffs, almost winning that race at Bristol in the 95 2 years back. So I think someone will pick him up. I don't think that he's going to go without a ride next year. He might have to take a step back, but I don't think there's a huge level of danger because we're just 2 races in. Daytona is pretty much, you've either got to be really smart or really lucky, and if you're neither, then you're not gonna do well. And then didn't he have a tire blow at the road course somewhere in there? And that's just road course. You'll get too deep into your braking zones, lock them up, and then all of a sudden your tire's gone because it's late in the run. So I through 2 races, you can't really make any assumptions about next year or how the rest of even this year is going to go. So I wouldn't be too concerned if I had Matt DiBenedetto right now.
Yeah, DiBenedetto, I think he's got to start turning the page this week. because you don't want to fall too. You don't want to have too slow of a start where it's going to be almost impossible to get back up to 16th in the playoff grid. But you also, you got 24 more races to get it done. But that gap builds really quickly. So you just got to be smart right now. If the playoffs started today, Ricky Stenhouse would be in over Kyle Busch by 3 points. So, I mean, and Ryan Blaney would be out, Chastain, Eric Almirola, Alex Bowman. You got some big names that would be out, William Byron. So some slow starts for those guys, but I think this week's got to be a turnaround week because we got a lot of 1.5 miles coming up, especially in that summer stretch. So definitely got to make it happen now. Steve, if you had to say your biggest surprise at the road course was, now don't say Chase Elliott not winning. That's not a surprise. We all knew it was bound to happen, which is good because Jeff Gordon's streak record stays alive.
Yep. Actually, I saw something during the broadcast that was surprising to me. So the thing that surprised me the most was that Austin Dillon's been a full-time Cup driver since 2014 and has never scored a top 15 on a road course. And I don't think he got a top 15 at Daytona here.
He finished 34th.
Oh, there you go. So the streak stays alive there. That was really bizarre to me, with especially over the last couple of years with how many road courses there's been, and Austin Dillon just can't figure that out. So the thing that I took away from that is that next time a road course comes up, I'm not picking Austin Dillon.
But hey,
well, he's got to learn how to turn
due.
left before he learns how to turn left and right.
Right.
Hey, now with that, we're going to go into our Splash and Go segment, our segment for where we let you guys, the viewers, ask us questions and we give you the best of our answers. Our first question comes from at Tyler V33. Should NASCAR overtime be kept at 3 attempts instead of unlimited? We've seen 1 attempt in the past, but we don't want to repeat 2015 Talladega in the fall. Sam, I'll let you answer this one first. What do you think about unlimited, or should we keep it at? Should we have 3 or keep it unlimited?
I personally think 3 is a good number. It could go on and on and on if we did put it unlimited, and that's if you could differentiate, like if there was a different rule for super speedways as opposed to other tracks. Yeah, I'd say like you could throw your overtimes over for 1.5 miles, but you're never going to use that anyways. For the most part, they don't usually wreck. They're usually spaced out. So there's usually not more than 3 green right checkered attempts, and that would only apply to the super speedways. And if you make it unlimited, then people are going to keep pulling dumb moves. That 3 really keeps them in a box, because when you're at 1, you're like, I can do this. If we get a caution, I can fix whatever damage and I'll still be up there. If you're at 2, you're like, I got 1 more. I can make this dumb move. But when you're at 3, you're a little more conservative. You want to make it to that last lap so that you have a shot at whatever finish that you want. Right. So I think keeping a cap on it really makes the drivers have to be more responsible at some point, because if it's unlimited, they're just going to keep making stupid decisions until there's no cars left. So that's just my personal take on that whole ordeal.
And I'll let Wes take this question too, and I'll let Steve and I take the next one. So, Wes, what do you think about green, white checkers?
I'm actually 100% with Sam here. I think that he nailed it on the head. Having a box where these drivers can't really just take all these continuous risks and make so many careless mistakes over and over. It's kind of an abuse of the system. I feel like if there's an unlimited amount of green, white checkered attempts. So having 3, I think, is a solid number. It's definitely better than 1. I don't think there should be 1. I think that they should at least be given a couple opportunities, and I think 3 is the perfect number. And yeah, the 2015 incident in Talladega, of course, was unfortunate. But then what we saw in the Truck Series, I mean, if they wrecked again, we were going to go to a 4th or 5th. I mean, at that point, it's just there should have been a halt, and I think 3 is a solid number for that. And typically, especially in the Cup Series, we don't really ever get that. I think it's been a really rare occasion that we've ever seen 3. I can't even recall on the top of my head the last time we saw 3 in the Cup Series. These lower series, yes, but I think that especially for some of the lower series, like in the trucks, I think they kind of need to settle back and realize kind of the situation that they're dealt with if there is 3. So once again, I think that with Sam, I think that's a perfect number.
All right, and our second question, it comes from Peyton Dooley at WB4TWG. Should these condensed weekends with no practice and no qualifying become permanent after COVID is over? Steve, I'll let you go first on this one.
I definitely think that having no practice, no qualifying adds a little bit more excitement into the weekend because you're going in and, cars aren't already trimmed out to, a dominant, Kevin Harvick 2020, type of car where, they'll just, get out to a 10-second lead. But as far as practice, I don't think there's really a need for, the 2-hour practice and then the hour and a half happy hour. I don't think there's need for that much practice. I think if you could limit the practice session to maybe like an hour a weekend, I do think there should be qualifying still. And I say that in regards to like the Xfinity Series, now that the qualifying at Daytona got rained out, and now that's kind of limited teams like Jordan Anderson, who were planning to run the full schedule. That really limits them to, they basically can't run another race or have another shot at qualifying until Circuit of the Americas in May. And so I think NASCAR needs to go back and look at this, that, they need to put qualifying back in at least. Practice is not really as big of a deal. But I think once COVID's over, I do think that we need to bring qualifying back to all of the events.
I agree. I think qualifying needs to be back. I'm not too big of this whole formula setting up the starting lineup kind of deal. I just think, qualifying is a must. And I think you're going to have to bring some practice back, especially with the next gen car. At least with these cars, you kind of got a base of what you've run races with this car. What you're expecting to build a setup off of. So I feel like a nice hour and a half of practice will be big and needed at all the tracks with the next gen car. So I think, you got to bring that back. I don't think they should cut that at all. That's where you're going to get the best racing, and, teams, they're going to put in more work. And honestly, if you don't need 3 practice sessions a weekend, just get 1 hour session, just like Steve said. I think that'll do the job, help you fine tune the car and be ready for the race.
These are good questions. They're really making us think. And so keep sending them in. We like them.
We do. We love the Splash and Go segment. And now the one segment where we all lose. Well, we all seem to lose every week. Our picks. And based off of our picks last week, we are going in the same order, except Wes and I are flipped for second and third. So with that being said, Sam, your pick, Chase Elliott, kind of flopped on you at the end of that race. So now you get to go first again. Who are you picking to win at Homestead?
I think I'm just a bad luck charm for anybody that I pick. So,
I'll pick Denny Hamlin this
well,
week.
That's what I got to do.
Oh.
He is the odds-on favorite right now. As at the time of this recording, he has 9-2 odds in Vegas. And after winning last year in a pretty dominating fashion, I just see Denny Hamlin taking home the checkered flag here. And if I'm wrong, I hope I get the first pick next week, because I don't want to see Hamlin win. But I gotta predict it professionally, and that's what I'm going with.
Well, he's running a special paint scheme again this week. It's nice to see FedEx and Denny running some different paint schemes now. It's a nice paint scheme. You'll definitely like it out on the track this weekend. And that means now that Sam picked, we get to go to Wes. I don't get the second pick this week. Unfortunately, Truex finished ahead of Ryan Blaney. Wes, who is going to win at Homestead?
Well, I'm going to go to my man, Tyler Reddick. I think we're actually going to see the first season. I'm sticking with the pick that I picked at the beginning of the year. I picked Tyler Reddick to win at Homestead. If he does, it'll be not only, I guess, the first time in, I guess, ever, but we started the season with 2 different winners. I think we're going to see a third different winner. I think Tyler Reddick's got a really good shot. He's finished top 5 every single time he's been at Homestead. The last time, or I guess last year, not only did RCR show really good speed, but for a guy that had no practice, very little seat time in the Cup car, a completely different style of racing from the times that he had been to Homestead, he ran really, really well, got a top 5, kind of screwed up the last lap. But
yeah, got to keep his foot in it this year. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully he keeps his foot in it and doesn't give up the lead on the last lap. But I think Tyler Reddick really does have a good shot. I think he's a guy, even though he is a guy people point at Homestead, I still think he's being overlooked as a possible winner this week. And I think that he'll be the third different winner we see to start off the 2021 season.
Well, I got a new winner. Well, not new winner of the Cup Series, but a new winner to his new ride. Now, this will be the first time we got to see Kyle Larson race at Homestead where there's not a championship on the line. Did not race there last year, so we didn't get to see what he's had. There's been multiple races where he probably had the best car, but kind of moved way for the championship battle. And I think Kyle Larson is going to be really mad at himself for not winning that Daytona Road Course after wheel hopping. And he's going to go out there and just dominate. I think Kyle Larson is going to sweep the stages, win the race. Kyle Larson's going to make a mark and show why Hendrick Motorsports brought him in, and Kyle Larson's getting his first win in that 5 car.
Well, I wish we could get a point for best finishes, because then I'd be 2 for 2 season, because y'all just like to take my picks. So, so let's see. I picked Denny Hamlin last week. That didn't work out, of course. So I'm going to go with his teammate. I'm going to go Martin Truex Jr. on this weekend. He won there in 2017, almost won there in 2019, almost won the championship, but they got the tires wrong. So I think Truex gets redemption, and I think he kicks off his 2021 comeback season strong, and I think he wins this weekend at Homestead.
Yeah, that good picks all around. I think we definitely got a chance for a winner this week. I think one of us picked the winner. It's going to be difficult, I think, for one of us not to have, unless Harvick comes out there with a crazy setup. But Harvick has been a little off at Homestead in the past few years. So other than that, I think that's all we got time for today. Episode 3 of the Four and Field podcast in the second season. And we've got a special episode coming up in episode 4. We got Deb and Chrissy from the Fast Lap podcast coming on to talk some racing with us. So can't wait for that one. That'll be episode 4. Stay tuned for that. And thank you all for watching, and enjoy the racing at Homestead.
Talladega, Alabama, hot day in the fall. And it's pedal to the middle, keep it off the wall. Darrell's passing Marlin, and Jeff just took the lead. He's burning up the track, but look out, here comes